Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on redefining motherhood. I am so excited. Today, we are going to talk all things conscious conception and conscious parenting, and of course, being a mom and doing all of the amazing mom things. Thank you so much for being here, Krysta Lee. I was so excited to spend this time with you and to hear your story.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so happy to be here.
This is so great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days and what's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a mom of two. I have a son, Jaxon, who's 3.5, and a daughter, Lillee, who is 1.5. My husband, David, and we live out in the county and we live life pretty chill. These days, I'm doing a lot of writing. I have a couple of books coming out now, one next month and another the month after. And I'm an actor and a singer as well. I'm super excited because I actually just found out that Working Mom Season 5 is coming back, and I'm going to be working on the show.
Yes.
Again, I've been with them since day one, season 1, so I'm so stoked it's finally happening. We normally film in July, so we've been waiting. We've never started this late in the year, so I'm super excited. And yeah, and just taking life day by day, you know, riding the waves, the ebb and flow of the times, and super grateful to be here and healthy and well, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so exciting. I know a lot of my mama friends and community love working moms. I know I have found myself being so empowered and, you know, crying all at the same times, just being able to relate to so many of the moms on the show. And just being able to go, yeah, like me too, I think is just like the most important thing. So thank you.
Yes, of course. It's a blast to make, and all the people are incredible on the show. And it's so funny because it's based on true events. So
it is, yeah.
It's real.
Yes. Which is also what the podcast is about too, right? Like having those real conversations that we tend to not talk about for whatever reasons. So I always start off by asking, number one, thank you for being here. And redefining motherhood for me is really about breaking down those generational patterns or beliefs that tend to keep us stuck and not grow. And I also believe that redefining motherhood is that opportunity for us moms to live it on our terms. And that is ever evolving. And it also has so much space for us to continue the momentum moving forward. And I could talk about it all day. But what does redefining motherhood mean to you? And, why show up on this podcast and share your story? What is it about that is so big for you?
Well, I love what you just said. That's absolutely beautiful. I feel so aligned with everything that you spoke about. And also for me too, redefining motherhood is about being conscious. So conscious in conception, conscious in parenting. Like you said, we've been like programmed almost like throughout the generations, I feel like, right? So we just kind of just go with what we've been told. And then also what you said, the times are ever changing. And so it's like we have to be reborn. We're becoming reborn again over and over and over again. And it's so important for us to be present and conscious as to why we're doing what we're doing and what's going on like deep at the root. To me, it's so important to get to learn to know self, because when we can get to know ourselves so well and so deep and understand why it is we do the things that we do, I feel like we have a better grasp on life and a better grasp on being a woman and a mother and a wife and all these things. So that's really important to me.
Yes, I love it. And so conscious conception, for those who haven't heard that, can you share with us what you mean by conscious conception?
Absolutely. So conscious conception to me is literally going deep within self and literally conceiving what it is that we want to manifest in our minds first and in our hearts. So I can share one example for me of what I did with conscious conception was my husband and I, we were trying for about 5 years to have kids, and we were unsuccessful. We had a couple of miscarriages along the way. And it was something that no one really spoke about. I found, like in my circle anyway, it wasn't really a topic that people were comfortable with. And so I turned to different life coaches and books. I read a ton of books. And along my journey, I read this book actually called Conscious Conception. And it was so beautiful. It really spoke about where we have to be in our mind's eye in order to create this dream that we have, no matter what it is, right? And so I had put a lot of pressure on myself over the years, I think, from, wanting to have kids, and even just the outside world. So many people coming at you are like, oh, when are you gonna have kids? And, not everyone knows what's going on behind the scenes. So for me, I did a lot of inner child work and healing and releasing and letting go and just being with the moment and accepting the fact that perhaps maybe this isn't my path. And it's so funny because once I actually did that and went through all the motions and did all the work and actually let go, it was about a month later, my husband and I, we conceived and we had our baby. We had a rainbow baby, Jaxon, my son. Oh, it's going to make me cry. It was the most beautiful thing. And it took work. It took a lot of work, and it took a lot of unlearning for me, which was really powerful.
They can't see us yet, but we are tearing up.
Oh, geez. Should have grabbed a tissue.
I know. Every time I put makeup on, that's the day that I cry.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh my
Mom's
goodness.
law.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing everything.
Welcome.
Yeah, because I think there's so much gold in what you had just shared. When you allowed yourself to be with the moment, like that is everything. Because I think that is like, it feels like everything in life is almost designed to keep you out of the moment. It's so easy to fall into this space and this idea of just like not being in the moment, when actually when we're in the moment, nothing else matters but being in the moment. And it's kind of a mind. Oh, I should ask you, is you okay if I swear?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Go for it, girl.
So not being in the moment is like a mind fuck.
Totally.
Right? So it's like the idea that you had just said, the moment you took the pressure off and maybe thought that this isn't what your life is going to be, 30 days later, you conceived.
Yeah. Unbelievable, right?
Yes. And also so believable if you operate in my world. And I think you and I operate in a very similar world. Like, it's like, no, but like, that is like, now that's just what's to be expected, because that's just how we operate. For the longest time, when I call it that transitioning between life before I found my spiritual self and life after. And life after, just at the beginning, that quote that like kind of ran my world was like, you can either believe that everything is a miracle or that nothing is.
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
And I thought, wow, so if we can look at everything showing up in my life as a miracle, not good, not bad, just miracle, like all of the things that have to kind of come together to design that to be in front of us. And you think about children too, like everything. That energy, I call it like miracle energy. Like when you're in alignment with miracle energy, that's really powerful. And so much can happen from there. So I love that. I have goosebumps everywhere. I have a sweater on, but I have goosebumps. But here's a really interesting thing that I think that more and more people are talking about it. But we have this tendency, I think, as our collective, to not talk about the work that went into getting to where we wanted to go. Yeah. And I hear you saying so much. I did a lot of work. And I thought that was so important, because it's almost like, here's where I was, and then I had it. And like, there's no talk about what happens in between. So then other women get into the situation and they're like, well, it should just happen like that.
Right. Yeah, right? You're so right. Absolutely. And it's something that people just don't talk about. I guess I don't know why. I'm not really sure why it is, but for me, I sought out a therapist, and then I started working with life coaches and even intuitives. And just like you said, like the before and after life, like before spirituality and after spirituality, I totally resonate with that. It is two worlds, and this world for me is so much more sacred and special and rewarding, and now the work is easier to do because I started the path and just took that first step, right? And anything is possible, and miracles do happen every single day. You're so right.
Yes, that is interesting too, right? Because now that we have done the work, it's easier to, like, it doesn't make the work easier, but it's easier to go, oh gosh, like now I need to do the work. Like this is
Right.
a sign that I got to do some work. I'm in a mastermind, and it's one of those things where we're all trained in the same tools. We're all, coaching at some point, all intuitives at some point, and just crushing it. And it's like at some point, it's like, hey guys, like I just need a session because I am in it and I don't want to be here. Like I can tell that I'm not in my frequency and I'm out of alignment, and it's not as scary because kind of been there before. And I feel like that's my wish for so many of us, is to be able to say, you know what, I can ask for help, and asking for help is actually the most empowering space I can be in. But I
Yes.
remember the moments when it was very scary to ask for help before. I know what that feels like for sure.
Totally, totally. And just like anything with experience comes confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we start something off that's new the very first time, it is scary, but it does get easier. And the butterflies still come up, but that's only because you know that you care. And so it's
Yeah.
so nice now to be able to be in a space where I can catch myself um and have the tools that I've accumulated along the way from help from others to be able to tackle it on my own, and then still be humble enough to know
Mm.
when to ask for help, and
Yes.
to know that there's people out there that have such beautiful gifts that can enrich my life as well. So
Mm.
it's really nice. I love it. I absolutely do. I do a lot of different courses and read tons of books, and it's an ongoing process that I'm excited to journey through for the rest of life, really. If you're not
Mm.
growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about inner child, because you and I, when we talked before we jumped on, inner child work is something that I think we can both really connect to and probably hold really close to our hearts. So how has that journey looked for you, and how have you explored your inner child?
Yeah, so I first started exploring with my inner child probably about 10 years ago with one of my coaches. And I had never done anything like this before. And it was actually really emotional for me in the beginning, because I think a lot of us have this inner child that's been wounded, that we've kind of just forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And we just think we're supposed to grow up and, be an adult and do all the steps, get a job, get a family, have kids, all the things, right? Without really thinking about why are we here and what did we go through and why do we do the things we do these days. And so for
Mm.
me, I had a bit of a harder childhood, I guess I could say. There was lots of family issues, and my father passed away when I was 11, and
Mm.
I had scoliosis and spina bifida and surgeries. There's a lot of trauma, and I didn't know, and I don't think my family really knew how to cope with it all. And
Mm.
we did quite well, I thought, at the time, and were able to, move forward in quite a positive light. But however, I think there was so much trauma there that hadn't been dealt with. It was starting to show up in my life in different
Right.
places. And I was
Right.
starting to turn to distractions and not being present, and, just not, things weren't working out as they could have. And
Right.
so when I started to dig there and go there, it was really emotional at first. And I was bringing up a lot of things that I had gone through as a child that I never healed. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful now. It's so great, because I envision my younger self. She's 6 years old, and I go there now, and she's happy, and she's playing, and she's in a park, and it's gorgeous. In the beginning, however, it was very different, and she was coward and sitting and
Mm.
crying, and so different. So now it's really beautiful to look back and see how she's grown, and she's always
Right.
going to be here and supported and loved, and it's the most beautiful thing. I love it.
Totally. Totally. Yes, yes, yes to all of those things. I think what a really beautiful thing that you had said, all of it was very beautiful. One thing that was very profound is, why did we go through some of the things that we went through? And I think for a lot of us, we can get caught up in the why and the blame, like blaming, looking at our whys and trying to find a blame and like to take that responsibility off. And I think it's a total natural response. And the way that I heard you say it was like, why did I go through that, and where can I grow, and how can I kind of move forward and either create an impact or have an impact? And And I think for our children too, like if that's what we went through to learn something and do it differently, my biggest thing is so that my child, that she doesn't have to do it that way. I know she'll have her own stuff. And I want her to, because this is her, like, that's how we grow and develop and evolve. It's just this difference of, it's not going to be, hopefully it won't be my stuff that I went through, because I want to have evolved and grown and able to give her the tools to look at that differently and create that container where it's safe, if that's what I can say.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I love that. That makes me think of something that's in the book Mama's Gotta Work, that's coming out next month. We want to give our children a childhood that they don't need healing from. And of course, there is going to be a lot of things that happen in life that are beyond our control. However, if we can heal ourselves first, we'll have the mindset and the space to be able to help our children learn how to heal themselves, and we can guide them along that path in a lot more of a supported and healthy, loving way, so that things aren't just getting, shoved under the rug or suppressed within.
Yes.
And I think it's so beautiful, because when we can do that with ourselves, our children are like little mirror images of us in the mind.
Yes.
So they'll see what we're doing. And I like to involve my children with the work that I do. Like, cool. I talk to them about everything that I do. And it's really incredible how they really are sponges, and you start to hear them saying the things that you say. And so it's just programming, really. So, if we can come from a space that's a little bit more stable and healthy, then we can pass that on to our children as well, and give them the tools so that they don't have to do all this work later in their lives.
Yeah.
They can kind of do it in real time.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what evolving is about, right? Like, it's not to say that she's never going to experience pain, but it's that how she manages the pain, how she experiences it, can be different. And there's this belief that everything that happens between the ages of 0 to 7, we spend the rest of our lives kind of working through and untangling and growing from. And I do believe it. And I think the word that I find peace in is the emotional resiliency. I think that if I can create that resiliency toolbox, my belief is that what comes her way, she can pull from that toolbox and say, I am resilient. And I believe that resilience is the hope. And I believe that hope is like a huge, huge emotion. I think that that's what has saved me many times in my life. And I want that for her too. And I want that resiliency to be ever evolving. And I think that's what our children are calling us forward to do, if I had any beliefs of what's going on.
Absolutely. I love that. I love everything you just said. They chose us for a reason, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I think that's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, they did. I remember when Hannah was first born, and there would be these moments of pure, I call it the shadow side of motherhood. And I was in like the darkness side of it, because it was a huge initiation into parenthood, I'll say. And there was these moments of just like pure intensity. And then I would get the aha, like I would like just take off the pressure. There was a moment where we had to go back to the hospital. She had jaundice, and she had to go under the photolight therapy for 24 hours. And so we were in the hospital on Sunday. She was born Tuesday, went home for not even 12 hours and back. And all of a sudden the nurse has her, and she's going to put her in the incubator. And she's like, you're not going to hold her for 24 hours. And my partner and I are like so tired. So like, okay. And then she's about to put her in there, and I just start hysterically bawling. I'm like, sorry, what? Like, this doesn't make sense. And we went through all of those motions, and she's like, don't worry. Every baby goes in there and they just sleep. They're under the hot light and they sleep. And I'm like, okay. No, she didn't sleep. She screamed the entire time. It was like 6 hours of constant on and off, taking her out. And then the nurse looked at us and goes, you guys aren't ready for this, are you? We're like, no, we're not ready for this. Like, no one, like, we didn't get a pre-frame on this.
Yeah,
no one told us this was about to happen. And so she gave us some more time back. And then about a few hours later, like, Hannah's not resting in there by any means. I had a C-section. I was still in a wheelchair. Like, I could barely move.
Oh my God.
And then We give her some formula, and honestly, within minutes, Hannah's literally lying there, hands behind her head, legs wide open, relaxed, and she slept for however hours she needed to sleep. And I was like, she was hungry, guys. Like she was hungry, right? So then we carry on into the night, and all of a sudden I realized it was like there was just this angel of a nurse came in, and I said to her, she goes, listen, you're gonna have to breastfeed her tonight. And I'm like, I'm tired. And I'm not like saying I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And she's like, no, but you need to breastfeed. And I was like, I know, and I will breastfeed, but right now I need to sleep, and dad can do it. And she's like, no, like you need, and she was very, I call her an angel, to be honest. And I was like, no, honey, I'm gonna tell you right now, I can't. And I'm choosing not to right now because this baby needs me to sleep in order for her to be okay, right?
Absolutely.
And then an aha came in. It was like this message from an angel just like dropped down, and she was like, yes, yes. And you weren't ready to go home yet. You weren't ready. You needed to know, like you just needed all of these things to go into alignment. And literally, as soon as I got that, everything just evened out. Hannah's blood report, all her scores, everything just manifested so quickly. She healed so quickly. They were like, she can go home. She's fine. Everything's good. And I was like, and that was the first moment of my daughter teaching me one of life's biggest lessons.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I love that.
Right?
Wow.
But that's how she has continuously in my life mirrored back to me what I need to know. And as soon as I get the lesson, her behavior, her symptoms, whatever it is that she's mirroring back to me resolves itself as soon as I get it. And I thought, how empowering of a relationship to be in, right?
Yes, that's so beautiful. And you're so right. That's exactly what's going on. It's like we're gifts to one another for so many different reasons. And children often trigger us in places where we need to do some work.
Yes.
And so it's just like this give and take. And you're so right. I notice the same thing with my children as well too. If something's happening, they're not behaving or whatever, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, come back. Let's do a little bit of something, whatever it needs to be done. And then you're right, that it's like night and day with them. Isn't that incredible?
Yes. And I thought like the entropy, as we call it, like it gets hot and heavy and it's like really intense. And I can look back and see the moments where I was able to step back and go, what does this have to do with me? And what is it that she's teaching me? And I think that is like that evolving of conscious parenting, of like looking at her as that individual and the gift that she is, and her being able to mirror back, because truly our only power is within ourselves and how we respond to things. That is our power.
Yep.
And it was like to get into those moments of feeling powerless, because I remember the days of her just scream crying for so long. I remember just not being able to go into that moment until I could have some sleep or maybe a real conversation with someone other than the screaming child. But I will say, as she's gotten older, it's been a lot more effortless to kind of engage in those conversations. But I wonder what it would be like if I had, if we could talk about these things just before baby is born, like knowing that level of like relationship you can have. I don't know.
I love it. I think that's brilliant. I think it's a conversation that we need to have as moms, and we don't know until we're in it. And that's the thing. So it's like we need to give that to other women in our lives, and just spread the word as much as we can, because motherhood does not come with a handbook. Nothing does. Nothing in life does. Nothing that we experience does. And so it's so great if we can look to people that have taken the path before us, and then hopefully have them be open to sharing. Then it's just a great way to communicate and learn and grow and have that community and the warmth and the love. And it needs to happen more often, girl. That's for sure.
Yes, I agree. So when you think back to like the inner child work, because I think that's an ever ongoing process that we continue to do. When you think back to that inner child work in the early days of motherhood, what would you say what was some of the most powerful moments that, if there was a mom that was listening and she could do something different today, can you share with us like your experience of that work and how it's helped?
Yes. Oh, wow. That's a really great question, because I feel like every day there's something. Every
Mm.
day of being a mom for me is different. Even if we have our same routines and everything, our children are constantly doing things that are reminding us of ourselves.
Yeah.
Little mannerisms and little like words that they say and things that they pick up on. I'm trying to think of a one specific example. Um, with my son, Jaxon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he can be very introverted and kind of shy. And I was very much that child. I was not really outspoken and didn't really have a lot of friends and would kind of like cower behind my mom's dress when we were out in public. And
Mm-hmm.
I started to notice that in him. And
Mm.
so it gave me the ability to look within myself and say, hey, I haven't gone back there to that little girl in a while and have a little talk with her and see what's going on. Why is she doing these things? And did a little bit of work on myself and was able to then come to my son. And he was, I believe, about 2 at the time, so quite young still.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I do have these conversations with him. We always have, my husband and I, since they were babies, like just trying to explain everything to them in real time. And I was able to sit down with them and just pick his brain a little bit. You know,
Oh
honey,
my
like
goodness.
it's okay to be yourself around people, and you don't have to
Oh.
be quiet. Like if you want to, you can, but because I could see he was trying and would want to be engaging with other kids, but just very intimidated. Um, it worked. I would have these conversations with him, and we would go to the library or, you know, places like the park where there was other people that he hadn't met before. And he would, the way that he would share that he wanted to engage with other kids was he would offer them something. So offer them a toy,
Mm.
and he would just walk up and be like, and that was his way of opening up. And then he would be received and have that space to feel received, and then he could be himself. And it was the
Wow.
most beautiful thing. So
Wow.
magical.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so amazing. And two, right? And two.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Have like, yeah, I absolutely agree. I would say that for Hannah, this is her 4th day back at daycare since March. She's been going on Monday, Wednesday was like pure like crying. Sorry, I should say Wednesday she was like whimpering in the back, like no,
Oh, honey.
like not overtly crying, but like, you know, and it just dawned on me and I was like, I have a moment right now where I could say to her, it's okay, like it's going to be fun. And I will do that because it will be, it's going to be okay. And I felt myself wanting to go in, and I know that these are my kind of like things that I do is like, I wanted to go in and save her and I wanted to protect her from everything. And I was like, but she's safe. I know the daycare's safe. We feel very aligned with going there. And I know that she needs to be building relationships. So we're good. So I was like, okay, so I could say this, or I could say, it's okay to be sad. And it's okay to be excited too. Like you're allowed to feel both those emotions. Cause I had a moment of like, I'm excited, but I'm sad too. Like I'm
Yeah.
excited for her, but I'm going to miss her dearly, you know? Um, and in that moment, she was just kind of like, yeah. And then when she got there, I was like, it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be excited. It's okay to miss mommy and it's okay to want to see your friends. And she was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then on Friday, she grabbed the educator's hand and just walked in, was still kind of like, but then today walked right in. No problem. Like, bye,
Wow.
mama. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. It worked. Great
It
job,
worked.
Anna. Yeah.
It worked. But it's that inner conversation with ourselves. Like if I were a child after 5 months being at home, what would my little girl want? Like, what would I want to hear right now? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
shooting like that it may not have worked, right? And then I would have continued on. But for whatever reason, it helped in that moment. And I think it is that ability to be like super intentional and conscious with what would my little girl in myself want in this moment. And I think that is like that secret little power tool, we'll say, in parenting, because we don't have a handbook, right?
Right. Totally. Absolutely. That's absolutely exactly nail on it. And like you said too, like we won't know unless if we try, right? So you
Right.
don't know in the moment if it's going to work, but there's no harm in trying. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, even though I want to say more, it does work. It's so weird. It's the weirdest
Yeah.
thing, but it's true. It works. And And it's so nice to give our kids that space to feel both emotions, because I think a lot of the generations before us, we're almost taught not to show those emotions. We're kind
Yeah.
of like taught to suppress them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we have a lot of healing to do. So it's great if we can teach our kids that it is okay to have both, like almost like opposite emotions at once, because it's confusing for them. So
Totally.
if we can say that happens to mama too, like I'll say that to my kids all the time, mama, that happens to mama too, and it's okay because this and this and whatever it
Cool.
is, right? And
Cool.
then they can just be themselves and not have to like struggle within the emotion.
Yeah. And like, it's kind of like this confusion of like, this is how I feel, this is who I am, but they're telling me to be something else. Now I'm really confused. So mama's telling me that everything's going to be okay and I'm going to have fun. But right now in this moment, because I love children, right? Like they're so present. They don't really think about, I mean, at her age right now, she's just literally in the present. And so it's like me telling her it's going to be okay doesn't help her in that moment, because I've tried it. I have, like, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I have tried. You're okay right now, like it's okay, and it doesn't work well. And it's just this interesting dynamic of like meeting those needs. They say emotions last for like 90 seconds. So I think about that in like a toddler's life, and I'm like, okay, if I can manage her emotion for 90 seconds and like just hold that space, I might be able to take this tantrum that is going to be 5 minutes down to like 2.
Yes.
Because it's still going to happen, and that's totally normal. But if I can just hold that space, that right now her body is designed to get the emotion out, and that's not my job.
Yeah.
My job isn't to shut it down. My job is to hold the space, right? And I can only know that because I have been doing the unlearning of all the conditions that came with, you know, being a child and being a woman, and what that means, and not suppressing those things, right?
Totally, 1,000%. And I find too what's really helpful in those moments when it feels like the emotions are getting extended beyond like the 90 seconds. Something that really helps with me and my kids is I'll just hold them or be with them or just be in their space in a loving way, just saying, it's okay, you're safe, I love you, instead of like, no, stop crying. Like I've seen it happen before, and it's just, it doesn't always work in my experience. So I think just by constantly reminding them, even just little whispers in their ear, it brings them down and grounds them again, which is so helpful.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And that's only because I know that, because that's what I went back to my inner child to do, to sit there and be with her and say, it's, you're okay, you're safe, I love you, and all those things. And to do it in real time now is just pure magic. It works.
Oh my goodness. I feel like we share like so many parts of our brain, because it's like our bedtime story is like, you are loved, you are safe, you are one. Because I was like, I have to let this girl know that she is safe, but like from a mental and emotional perspective, because it's safe to, it's okay, and it's safe to be us, right? And it's like, yeah, what does your inner child need to know? And I think a lot of parenting and mothering, we'll just say, comes from consciously mothering ourselves. Because when you say your inner child work is technically you mothering yourself.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. It is 1,000%. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, so that's what I can control. That's what I can, you know, align with. And that modeling of like, who am I showing up for this little human to be? If I can control that or have the power to do that, then that's what I will focus on, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah,
That's the only
every
thing we
single
have
day.
control over, really. The only thing we have control over is ourselves. We don't even really have control over our children at the end of the day. If you think about it, they're their own individual humans. So
yeah.
Oh, speaking of, my son just
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We have lots of conversations, and there's like toys going on in the background, or dogs. So if you so if there is one thing that you could tell your younger self or your mama self at any point of your journey, what would you want her to know today? As at where you're at now, what would you want your younger self to know as a mama?
Oh, it's gonna make me cry. I would say you are more than enough. Just that line right there. Because I struggled with believing I wasn't enough in so many areas of my life, from childhood up until today,
Mm.
every single day, right? We think we're not doing enough or we're not being enough or whatever. I have to remind myself that you are enough. You are more than enough. And that feels so much better.
Yeah.
And I think all of us deserve to hear that more
Totally.
often than we do, right?
Yeah.
We try so hard, and we still have our days where we feel like I just can't do this, or I'm not enough, or I'm not going to be the mom they need, or whatever it is. Come back to that space, because you are enough. You are more than enough, and you're more than capable of being an incredible human, incredible mom, incredible woman, all these things.
Yes, yes. Love
Yes.
that. I love that. And so you mentioned you have a book coming out next month. Can you tell us a bit about the book?
Yes, thank you. It's a book called Mama's Gotta Work.
Yeah.
It's written by moms for moms, so 20 different mamas are on the project, and we co-authored this beautiful piece all about what to expect when you go back to work after having kids. Because that was a huge thing that I struggled with. When my son was 4 months old, I went back to work full time, and I was just constantly Googling everything, like what to do for this and that and the other. So yeah, I found an incredible publisher, Golden Brick Road Publishing House, Kylie. She is amazing. Pitched her the idea. She loved it. And then I as well asked Catherine Reitman of Working Moms, the star and producer, actor, writer, all the things, if she would write the forward for us, and she did.
I
And it's
saw
just
that.
epic. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of all these moms. Every single chapter has something different, and so many hacks and takeaways and tools and just stories and relatable, inspiring words within these pages. And it comes out on September 8th, Tuesday, September 8th. So yeah, it's gonna
Amazing.
be pretty exciting. I think we're in
Yes.
launch mode right now, and my brain is just jumbled with all this incredible information. It's just like about to burst. It's
Oh
so
my
fun.
goodness. I love that. Well, thank you so much for that. I hope that we'll post all the links below for our listeners to check it out and get a copy for sure. Because yeah, I think we can all connect in all of those stories of just like how to do that, and not even like how to do it, but just to know that we're not alone in some of the things that we're thinking and feeling. And I think it is kind of a mind fuck, right? Like you spend so much time with this little human, and then that transition can be so big. And yeah, and a lot of emotions for sure, big and scary.
Absolutely.
And also like
Yeah.
refreshing, because there's also some moms, like I know for myself, it's like I actually want to go back to work. I really, really want it. And I also want to be with so it's like how to do the both of
Yes.
them, right?
Yes, we can have both. It is
Yes, we
possible, and
can.
lots of stories are within those pages all about that. So,
Oh my
so great.
God.
And so many different moms, different backgrounds, different kids, numbers of kids, different ages of kids. It's
Right.
beautiful. It's very
Oh my
spicy.
goodness. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I think that's exactly what we need in this world. Is we need to see more mamas doing it, and doing it with love and grace, and just doing it, right? And being fierce about it, which is so important. So thank you. Thank you for sharing so much with us today, and all of the conscious conversations that you're having with your children. I love hearing that. And I think that we could potentially do more on that, because I think just hearing examples of that can just help so many of us, right? So just kind of sharing in those kind of conversations would be so great. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we could chat all day about these
Yeah,
things.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much, love, and good luck with everything. I can't wait to read it. And I just so appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nicole. So much love to you, girl.
Thank you.